Hello and welcome to another episode of How to Be a Movie Snob. Man, I almost said How to Be a Millionaire, but that's a different show.
Oh, we don't know much about that.
No, we don't. I think we'd have a lot better analytics if we did, to be honest. So maybe we'll just like switch it a couple times. A lot more clicks and views on that episode.
Like and subscribe.
If you want us to be millionaires.
We need a few trillion of you to like and subscribe. Thanks, guys. We're back with more movies. I'm here with the amazing Mariah.
Hello.
Current bingo champ of your local bingo hall. How was it?
It was an exciting night.
Who says small towns in Oregon don't have fun? You know?
Well, they do once a month.
Once a month. And coming to us from afar, he's not quite arrived yet, but he's still where he is, far away in a distant land.
I see.
Far away. Mr. Patrick, how's it going, sir?
It's going great. As you will all see, I'm very excited about this episode.
You can't control the joy that just comes from Pat's screen. You know, it's just like...
Does your face hurt from
everything
the smiling?
just flying at us from the screen. So much things happening. This week we are doing kind of a get to know my favorite movies. Oh, sorry guys, and your hostess with the mostest. I'm not, but I'm Seth, and I'm here. So there you go. That's what you get from me.
Hi,
Seth. Just Seth. Just call me Seth, guys. This week. We're going to do like a beginning of a little mini series called, Hey, this is my favorite movie. You want to watch it? Okay, that's not a great title, but that's basically what we're doing. And like all things, we start with Pat from afar.
Because he can't do anything about it.
Nope, because he can't reach out and, tell us no. He can't put a hand up there and say no. Circle. So, Pat... You have this movie. Oh, you even have the shirt. That's so good. I didn't even notice it till right now.
I might.
Stop it. Oh, this is so good. Pat has come prepared. Guys, this movie is on Pat's top 10 list of all time. His all-time top 10 list.
We'll see if it still is after rewatching this.
And we may have gave him a little grief for it, I believe, when he picked this movie for a top 10, I believe. I don't know if
believe it was a,
Yeah, I'm like, I mean, it's good, but like top 10? I'm pretty sure was my result from that. But this movie...
You guys have not been arrival pilled yet.
This movie, a little intro. Actually, Pat, give us a little intro without giving away the movie, even though it's clearly in the title of the podcast or the YouTube that you're watching. But give us a little background and kind of lead us on a little bit here.
Maybe like, what's the name of it?
No, don't start with that. Come on, Mariah. Jeez.
Okay, don't say the name.
The year was 2016. America was doing great.
Sports especially.
That was a bad year. That was a bad year.
A lot of my favorite things happened that year. Not all my favorite things.
I was just saying, that's funny if please say what I think
a year that brought us Deadpool.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Hacksaw Ridge.
Yeah, I do remember Hacksaw Ridge.
And others. Hush, very, very underrated horror movie. Also brought us this movie, the first in the sci-fi quadrilogy from Denis Villeneuve.
And please pronounce that for everyone out there, because I had to listen to it about 1 million times, and I'm still going to mispronounce it.
I'm pretty sure it's Denis Villeneuve.
Denis, yeah, they always say Denis. Villeneuve, I always mispronounce. So, go ahead. So, Denis Villeneuve.
Yeah, starring Amy Adams, Jeremy Renner, Forrest Whitaker,
Last King of Scotland,
etc.
Ghost Dog.
Ghost Dog. That's way better.
Ghost Dog.
That's so much better than my reference. He did win an Oscar for the one I mentioned. Though.
Yes. And also my favorite movie. Can I say the title? Not that we don't all know what I'm talking about yet.
your favorite movie of all time. This is number 1 on your top 10 list.
I think this is number 1.
Stop right now. You put your alien hand against the wall and stop.
Yeah.
Squid,
Wow.
Squid fingers.
Number 1.
So Squidward is your favorite of all time.
Yeah.
Of
Yeah.
all the characters.
Yeah.
Not
Down
Patrick.
under the sea. Not Patrick.
It keeps happening. I keep going, yeah, maybe I'll like other movies more. And then I rewatch this movie and it just keeps getting better.
Wow.
And I see different things. Wow. And yeah, my hot take is Arrival is my favorite movie of all time.
Wow. Boom. Of all the movies we've seen, of all the
Of all
movies
of
we've
them.
seen,
That's a big
Of
take.
all of them.
like over Nosferatu.
Even over The Arrival, starring Charlie Sheen, which I didn't hate when that came out. Happily rented from our local video store, The Arrival.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But this one, sci-fi with the name Arrival in the title, this one wins.
Oh my goodness! Wow.
So there you
It's
go.
hot. It's a hot
That's a
one.
hot take.
It's hot.
Man. Okay, I'm not gonna compare that, but my hot take real quick is thank goodness they saw Interstellar before they finished making this, because this would have not have been as good if Interstellar had not. If they hadn't watched Interstellar, because there would have been some things that would have gone more interstellar-y. And this is where, Pat, you and I disagree. Interstellar is way more entertaining for the masses. Let's just be real. And it does some things very cool. And sure, hot take number 2. I get it. Language is important. Okay, English teacher, leave me alone. You don't got to disguise it with this fancy movie by Denis Villeneuve. It's just a lesson I learned when I was learning my second language. So yeah, big deal. We get it. Okay, that's it. That was my big rant. That's more of a rant than a hot take.
Yeah, it really was a rant. I'm sorry.
You really escalated quickly.
Got quick. We're getting hot, folks. Hot.
Killed a guy with a trident.
Yeah, you should lay low for a while. Okay, Ryan, what's your hot take for Arrival? We got some all over the board right now, so.
My hot take is knowing that this is Pat's favorite movie.
Oh, that's great.
This is the most surprising amount of feelings and also that Pat likes. I find that surprising.
Yeah.
I cry in this movie.
Yeah, you should have cried.
For sure. I feel deep feelings.
There's deep ones
Just
to
not
be
in
had.
public.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah,
not in
never
public.
in public.
Never.
Never let him see you cry.
Never let him see you cry. Oh my goodness. Wow. Okay, I like your bold statement, Pat. I don't even think this is Denis' best movie, so obviously I don't think it's the best movie of all time. But
I hear you.
But I just for the record, I love this movie. It's not like I don't love this movie. This movie
Yeah.
is so well done, and it's so there doesn't seem to be any missteps, although there's a couple things I'm a little bit I feel it's not the movie's fault, it's certain actors' faults in my opinion, but we'll get to those in a second.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not really an actor's fault. It's just because he's so famous now. But the way they paced this and the way they didn't make it a regular Alien movie was so impressive, because it zagged when you thought it would do the normal zig. Like, it did things different enough that made it so fresh. Even on, this is my second watch. Pat,
I was just going to ask.
I was going to say, I don't know how many times you've
How
seen
many
it.
times
Pat.
you've seen it?
I saw it in theater, and then I saw it again last night. So I don't know how many times.
Many times.
I assume, Pat.
Many times.
And
I think I like that you've seen it more than once.
Oh,
Mariah,
yeah.
have you seen it more than once?
It
This
was
first time.
It was at least my second time. The fact that it came out in 2016 and I had an infant meant I didn't go see it at the theater. So that, and I might have otherwise.
Finn's that much
So
older
yeah,
than Dottie. That's funny.
I'm curious
That's
to
true.
see, how I'd be curious to know how much I would have loved it in the theater. It would have been great, Up on the big screen.
Yes. Yeah.
The thing I went and watched with my buddy Will, shout out Will, and when
Hey, Will.
the movie ended, I said, "This is why movies are made."
I
I was so blown away by it, and I think it just, for whatever reason, the ingredients in this movie hit me so perfectly.
That's great.
In all my little things I like about movies, and then to me with this one too, the rewatchability
Yeah, that's true.
is so good, because the first time you watch it you feel like, oh, did they trick me, is it how like
Memento-ish or
Yeah, I definitely
Just
thought
like-
a little Memento vibe.
but when you rewatch it and you understand what's happening, it like makes sense in
for
this
sure.
amazing
for sure.
playing with the form of linear storytelling, and you're like, no, it makes perfect sense that this is the first time she's getting this vision, and
Yeah.
then like I that part of it is so good.
Yeah.
There's so many things about this movie I like geek out over,
I got one for you, Pat.
and I will happily do it this whole episode.
As much as I love Chris Nolan, Denis kicks butt in time being a loop compared to Christopher Nolan's Tenet, which was a mess. Is it called Tenet? Is that what it's called?
Yes,
Oh
Tenet
my
is
gosh.
not Chris Nolan's best.
No,
It's a
his
cool
worst.
idea. A cool idea.
Very
that you're
cool
like,
idea, but it was just so murky and horribly scored, which is another thing. By the way, this was the second most nominated film, and the one thing it wins for? Sound editing. That's the thing this won the Oscar for, which I think is amazing. I want to jump into so many things, but let's start with the haters gonna hate. We're gonna do haters gonna hate because once we jump into the
No, I
Oscar
will just
stuff,
refute it
I know.
one after.
Oh yeah, Pat. Before I go into the haters gonna hate, what do you think the hate for this movie is gonna be? Because I think you could guess what the hate for the movie would be.
Yeah, actually, I went through some reviews. It has a good set of scores on Rotten Tomatoes,
Oh yeah,
certainly critically.
great. Yeah.
I think some people, and I can see this, some people find some of the dialogue a little stilted or
Oh, for sure.
uneven, and then certainly because it came after Interstellar,
Yep.
people had this like big blockbustery sci-fi movie to kind of compare to in recent history, and it's not that.
Probably helped it in the box office though, and the good news is it probably gave them a lot more money in the box office, so they probably weren't crying about that.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, I think honestly, those would be the only two things where I could go, okay, that's fine, that's your opinion.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't.
For sure.
Well, and then the other nitpicky things is some people who are real like language nerds are like, well, that's not quite how it would work, or there's some pretty trivial things that people can gripe about, but I think it's probably some of the dialogue, and that it just wasn't a bigger movie. And then honestly, the thing that took me a little bit of time to like absorb was the design of the aliens. When I first saw them, I was so like, what? And over time, I've come to really appreciate that design. But that was not an instant love.
How they copied the Simpsons aliens exactly. I agree. It's amazing how exactly similar that the aliens.
Yeah.
I didn't know. What I didn't know is that the Simpsons aliens were septipods. That's what I guess I didn't know. But now I know they are, because obviously these were fashioned. Heptapods. Not thank you. Heptapods.
Well, as South Park famously said, Simpsons did it. There's nothing Simpsons haven't done.
No.
So we're all just copying Simpsons at this point.
100%.
Yeah, if you want to know the future.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right. So the haters. So you nailed it almost on the head. Clunky, slow, drags, all these things. But honestly, every time I read those reviews, I was like, it made me think less of the reviewer. Because personally, as much as I get why people are like, oh, this is clunky, this is what... That was the beauty of this movie. Like, the beauty of this movie is it doesn't go at a pace like Interstellar. And Interstellar has some cool breaks too, don't get me wrong. And I don't want to keep comparing it to Interstellar, but that was just because those are so much contemporaries. But the pacing of this is why I think the haters who hated just showed their lack of taste in movies. So Pat, I got your back on this one, buddy. The haters gonna hate, but the haters don't know. The haters don't know.
Boo haters.
Boo haters. This one's good. You shut your mouth. Shut your mouth. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about the money though. We already talked about Stellar. Mariah, show me the money.
This movie, the budget was a modest $47 million.
That's a lovely thing to say.
And it made some money back. It was box office $203 million.
That
Good
ain't
job.
chump change. Yeah,
Good job,
two
guys.
runs, one before November crowd. So I had a good week. Go with Thanksgiving weekend. Was it Thanksgiving weekend? It was November sometime. I think it was before Thanksgiving. So it got like top 3. It was like third place the week it came out, which is pretty impressive. And then it got re-released after it got nominated for all the Oscars and made almost the same amount. I think even more. I can't remember exactly, but it was pretty impressive. All of them were like, oh, we did not expect this. This is great. I love like they only expected to like make maybe a little more than what they made the movie for because of the way it was. But yeah, it kicked butt in the box office, which that surprised me after watching it a second time. I literally watched this thinking, this is good, but I wonder if it's good for like box office. But apparently it was.
Yeah.
Way to go, public.
Yeah.
Way to go watch a good movie. I'm kind of it's kind of refreshing.
Yeah. You know what's speaking of box office winners, I just kind of realized both the original Deadpool came out in 2016.
Mm-hmm.
But Sean Levy, who directed Deadpool and Wolverine, was a producer on Arrival. So a little bit of a
I just saw
That's
that.
so
I was
fun.
like, what?
Cha-ching, ching,
you know,
ching.
Sean,
Oh my
Sean
gosh.
Levy knew what he was producing. So there you go.
And now that I know it too, I see Stranger Things.
Oh, okay, guys. Who do
I'm
we want
curious.
Yeah, go for it, Pat. I got a
Well,
lot
I
of ways
still
to go.
kind of want to get into the first impressions.
Oh yes, we got to do this.
When you first watched this,
Yeah.
were you like? I guess all of it from. I don't really want to call it a twist because it's not like aha, they were dead the whole time. But there is this big reveal, and again, heavy spoilers, everyone. Just watch the movie.
We're gonna spoil the crap
But it's
out
not
of
a
this.
spoiler that ruins it for somebody who already knows.
No.
Like it'd be better if
yes.
you didn't know, but knowing it's
but-
okay.
Oh, for sure. And okay, so we gotta understand when this movie came out, we had Memento has already been out. The Usual Suspects has already been out. This sort of
Sixth Sense.
You know what I'm saying?
Already
Sixth Sense. Already seen it.
Identity.
Movie that was on my top 10 list.
I did.
The movie Tree of Life already out. So we have these kind of like what's really going on at the time, what's really going on. So that I don't think was as it's not mind blowing. I think I was just surprised at what a quiet movie it was. I was having trouble. I'll be honest, guys. I saw a lot of movies when my daughter was in the hospital. Just a little backstory, guys. When we had my first child, she was born with some very serious issues, and so she had to be in the NICU for almost 3 months. So my wife and I had to go home to the hotel every night because you're not allowed to spend the night in the NICU. So, and this is when MoviePass just came out. So we were watching a lot of movies at the movie theater, frankly, just to keep our mind off of what's going on in our life right now. And so I watched a lot of movies then, but I realized this wasn't that time because that would have been 2017, 2018. So I thought I watched it then, and then I went back and I'm like, oh, I saw this when I was in Asia. So now I'm really confused of where I saw it, but I definitely remember seeing it in theaters. So then my brain started really thinking about it because the whole scene with China would have been edited differently if I was in China. So I'm really confused about when I saw it, or if I saw it online, or if I saw it in Thailand. So for me, I'm having trouble like I don't even know where I physically was when I watched this, which is a weird thing to say, but that was my life back then. So I don't remember that, but I remember thinking this is really just kind of good. Like it wasn't a blockbustery feel.
Yeah.
It wasn't.
It's a quiet movie.
I was teaching English and learning another language at that time. So I was like, that's kind of a fun, cool thing. And it's I was a teacher. She's a teacher. And so I can't talk too much about that, but I can tell you what I was thinking now, because my daughter has a chronic illness, and so does Amy Adams' daughter in this movie. And I was like, if Megan and I watched this together, we might have just been done. We might have just been done, because
it's brutal.
We'll get into this, but this asks questions of, and since I'm religious, it's predetermined. We call it in the Christian world Calvinist versus Arminianist. You have free choice? Is it predetermined? And then like everything's like the Donnie Darko question: if I change anything or anything, So my other hot take was going to be, this is the best argument for Calvinism I've seen it in a movie since Donnie Darko. So that was the other hot take, even though I acknowledge that the movie actually has an element of free choice. Because that's what makes it a movie. But in the book, which we'll talk about a little more, it's more of like, this was going to happen no matter what, because of the way we view time. So I think two factors this time were really hitting me different than the first time I watched it, because I didn't have a kid yet. Like, we knew we were pregnant, but we didn't have a kid, and we didn't have a kid who had major illnesses. So it was this was rough. It was rough. And so I was thinking, I'm like, man, Pat really is going to want me to want this to be my favorite movie, because it's teach second language learning, kids who've got like, super scary stuff going down. But would you change anything? Would you change anything? And it's such a good question. So no, yeah. I love the message of this so much on many personal levels. And I haven't had this much personal level since the Oscar movie.
Oh yeah.
Different Lives? No. Past Lives.
What about you, Mariah?
In rewatching it, and it had been so long that it took me a while to remember what I was getting into. At first, I was kind of, there's the very sad beginning, and I, for a minute, thought, oh, they're just setting this up to be like, this is who she is now. This has happened in her past, and, this is where she's motivated to, like, just go for it and talk and, like, put it all out there. But then you get all these more reveals throughout the movie, and then I'm going, oh, yes. Oh, and, like, so there's just more, like, aha moments as you go through, like, kind of for me, and remembering, like, that's right. That's what happens.
That's interesting.
Because at first it was like, well, that's really sad.
So
and that's not what this movie's about. And
you forgot the whole. They did the thing that they wanted you to do, which is connect that, like, her seeming a little dour, and even just that conversation with her mom. You know me, Mom. I'm fine, or whatever. And you're like, I'm connecting these dots because of the timing in which you showed me things.
Yeah, or her talking to him about being single for so long.
There's different reasons. Yeah.
Yeah.
I also forgot the twist.
Yeah,
which is so weird.
It got me. It had been long enough. It had been maybe 6-7 years probably since I'd seen it.
But isn't that weird though? I'll never forget Memento or
no, because this is subtle. This is
very
subtle.
It's very subtle.
It's a smooth.
Well, and
watch.
it's not like
smooth
the twist isn't this big turn. It's this revelation that what you saw wasn't quite what you saw.
Yeah.
Without feeling like, I got you, you fool.
Well, yeah.
And I think
I got you, sucker.
The thread of, like, the miscommunication and the lack of understanding, and humans being so awful, and, all these different countries at play, and war being imminent. Like, that's a thread that's happening throughout the whole thing. So you still have, like, that solid plot. And then there's all these really cool nuances to the communication, and
I agree. And I agree.
The time and all that.
Not only do I agree, I think this movie has the softest reveals of almost any movie I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Because when I thought they were going to first show the aliens, that was the most gentle way they could reveal these arguably scary aliens.
Yeah.
Like,
there's no like gasp moments.
Legitimately.
Where you're like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, no,
Well,
not
you
at all.
barely see them.
You're just
You barely see them.
You feel comfortable when they're there by the time they're there.
Yeah.
The scariest part is when they put the hand on there next to Amy Adams. That was it. But that was barely.
But even she doesn't react big,
No.
right?
No,
So you're like,
so you
oh,
don't
I guess
react.
that's not supposed to be that scary.
Scaredy cat soldiers behind her, dude.
And then
Yeah.
that was a good like opposite thing, which is a perfect picture of the whole movie. And also the reveal of when she realizes past was forward. There's no like a quick, because often in movies they'll do all of the
oh
yes, and they do that in the Memento.
Let me remind you of all these
They
things.
do that
Right.
in Sixth Sense. They do that in every movie ever, but they don't do that in this. They just
and her conversation with the general too, it's so slow and like revealing, but not like oh, it's like, oh, she's getting it at the same time we're getting it, and it's just a simple like, this is what I need to do, this is your phone number. Like I don't know how
pretend
they
to
made
understand how your mind works.
Yeah.
But I
Yes.
feel like I should show you this.
I don't know how they made it so smooth, but it sure was.
that felt Inception-esque. That moment, I couldn't figure what movie that was. The movie that was the part
But
where
you
I
didn't
couldn't
go.
figure it
You
out.
didn't go like, oh, what's going on with my mind, like you do in Inception. You know.
What
did I
I
just
don't
see?
think the movie. It didn't feel like the movie was trying to outsmart us. It was
gently
just
letting us
telling
be
you
a part of it. Exactly right.
Yeah, and I think another one of my like maybe more wild card like top 10, top 20 movies is like Moneyball. And similarly, it's like it's a movie that lets you as the audience member feel intelligent or not feel patronized.
Yes.
Like it doesn't have to hand feed you everything, but it's also not like trying to like. Although maybe Moneyball fans feeds you a little bit more in this one, but like
it does. But
it brings you along for the ride in a way that you go, oh, I get this.
Mm-hmm.
I get what you're trying to do, and it's also a movie about using your brain.
Right. And these guys are wrong, but they're not bad. They're just outdated. Like they just need to move on with like same kind of, quote unquote villains. It's like these guys are just doing what the history has done. And so they're going off of this. And
it's
same thing with the old
it's an
scouts sitting at the
aspirational
table.
movie.
Yeah.
And
it's like your time is done.
Yeah.
But like to me, this movie aspires, and the idea even, and
agree.
spoilers, that in 3,000 years
They're going to ask us
humans
for
will help these aliens.
Yeah.
You're like, that's
so
cool.
good.
I wonder what that's going to
We're
be.
going to evolve. It's time to evolve, guys. Open your mind.
I think that's a big part of this, that I just, not only does it touch me emotionally, which like
Nothing
you put,
does.
nothing,
Nonsense.
mostly nothing does.
That dog came back.
Oh my gosh, why am I going to forget the name of the song? Oh, On the Nature of Daylight. The song that they use to open and close.
Yes, I'm
which
so
is
glad you brought this up.
gorgeous.
That they couldn't use
And of course,
for a submission.
that
Why not?
took Johan Johansson
was-
out of Oscar nominations
'Cause it had been used
he didn't
before.
compose that.
Oh.
It wasn't his composition, and because it's so prominently used, he was ineligible. Even though his score is amazing, all the da, 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 da stuff is so good.
That's why they got the sound
anyway,
mixing, not the.
yeah.
Right, they had to give him
But
something.
That song at the beginning with all these amazing visuals, it's like, oh, gut punch, and then the rest. Oh gosh, I could just take you moment by moment. Movie. I just really freaking love this movie. The other thing I remember in the theater watching, I'm curious how you guys felt about it, was when they're learning about the aliens arriving at the school, and the kids are like, can you put the news on? That was like 9/11 flashbacky thing to me.
Yeah.
It was like, yes, this is how a earth-shattering event kind of feels. is that everyone's just kind of like the world stops turning the way it was, and then you're fixated on the news trying to understand what's going on. I just remember being, oh man, they just nailed the feeling of this kind of crazy thing.
Yeah.
So good, you guys. It's just so good.
Except I was in college and my science class still went through on 9/11. I'm still mad about that. That's another thing altogether. I was like, I literally woke up late on 9/11. I'm like, that just happened. And then I went to class and we're like, hey, this is happening. He's like, well, it'll still be happening when class is over. I was like, oh. Anyway, sorry, that's a little personal stuff there.
No. Well, the other side of the argument is, if they stop us, then the terrorists win. So let's keep learning.
Let's keep learning science.
You're just like him. Doggone it.
Yeah.
The other thing that was so interesting is they didn't develop the bad guys. I kept waiting for Forrest Whitaker's character to be more of a bad guy, and he never was. And then they built up.
Oh, he's great. He's the good guy in the middle.
Oh, 100%. He's the one making it happen.
I'm doing the best I can with what I got.
And as soon as they explain to him,
point.
It's so good. Yeah, that whole lesson. I did find it. They did it.
The kangaroo story.
The kangaroo story is funny. I mean, I get that. That was a good little. There's not many like breaks where you get a smile in like a easygoing smile. You know what I mean? There's because it is so powerful of a movie. But the part where she's explaining why you need to know the word human, and I'm like, that. This is like language 101 class. Like it was just a great like. And the screenwriter even talked about that. He's like, I don't know how to say this because you need to know this and this and this. And then the other guy's like,
put that in the movie.
Just put that in the movie and get rid of a lot of other crap you wrote.
Yeah.
Do you guys know much about the source material? Have you looked that up at all?
I know it because of the movie, not because I've read it directly. So
nice.
I have knowledge adjacent.
Nice. It's based on the story of your life, which that's literally what it's called, Story of Your Life, by Ted Chiang. And Ted Chiang apparently is like the guru of science fiction novels. And he's kind of like this super important writer. I didn't know this until I started looking him up. But what I love is that I think he took 4 to 5 years to look this up for this little novella, like just to really figure out what it means to learn languages. And so that was like a big thing.
Major research.
It's kind of like the opposite of the movie we just did last week, which was Stephen King being like, I don't think this could be a movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, not just the research into the communication, but developing the language.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that was great too.
And using almost everything that they came up with. That was kind of very cool.
Yeah, and then the book though, it was both visual and oral, right? Like the aliens did talk in a way that was being deciphered, and then there's a bunch of stuff where you go, oh yeah, that's clearly better for a movie version.
Yes.
And there's 112.
Yes, 112 ships.
Eyeglasses or whatever, I forget what they call them.
Yeah.
And you're like, that's a lot. And
they're just there's no aliens there. There's just the portals. So it's basically like when everyone got 112 iPads from space.
Yeah, and so they could try and talk to them.
To learn how to do the thing. Which is very cool. It's a very cool idea as a book. Like I realize why that would work.
It's just really hard to communicate that visually in a movie.
I really think the screenwriter just knocked it out of the park with just the changes he made from the book to this. Because
I believe Ted Chiang was very happy.
Yeah,
yes.
He liked it.
When Ted Chiang says this is good, and when Denis Villeneuve likes what you did, you're good. First of all, how stoked would Ted Chiang have been? Like, wait, who's directing it? Yes.
Yeah, I mean, and speaking of like the American movies before this, he'd done was Enemy, Prisoners, and Sicario. I think were the ones we all knew. And Enemy, I don't think a lot of people saw. And Prisoners
I saw
was acclaimed.
It's freaking weird.
Jake,
and I looked it up because that one scene when the aliens in the corner reminded me of the last scene in Enemy where the spider's in the corner. I'm like, blah! That's the only scary part in the whole movie. is the alien
Yeah,
in the corner because it feels like in the movie Enemy, Jake Gyllenhaal plays the two main characters.
Two persons of.
And he's like,
himself.
yeah, I don't even know if they're related.
Doppelganger.
Yeah, just doppelgangers, right?
No,
They're
I
not
think
even
it's just a
related.
weird doppelganger movie.
Yeah, crazy movie. Crazy
and then
movie.
Prisoners with Hugh Jackman again.
Yep.
Connection with Deadpool and Wolverine.
Yep.
And then Sicario was,
Which was
the bomb.
Awesome.
Like amazing.
So good.
Emily Blunt.
Yep. And the
Benicio
man,
del Toro.
Benicio del Toro. I forgot his name.
And
was
Josh
Blunt.
Brolin. Oh man.
Yeah, Josh
So-
Brolin's so good at that too.
What a great lead cast. Anyway, so that was what America knew about Denis up to this point.
Yeah.
It's funny now because he did this and then Blade Runner 2049 and then
And now
Dune
he's
1 and
doing
Dune 2.
Dune.
So
So
now
he's like the sci-fi king.
So he's like the sci-fi guy.
Yeah.
But like before that, it's like no,
Yeah.
he did not do
Yeah.
the sci-fi. So.
But he
No.
wanted to.
right? It's so funny. Yeah.
But
no.
yeah, I think you'd be like, oh, what an interesting choice. And I think because there is so much emotional, psychological stuff kind of happening in this movie, those other ones make sense for this adaptation because it's not a big
Yeah.
sci-fi spectacle.
Yeah.
There's a couple pretty awesome sci-fi things, and otherwise you're like, it's a movie about communication and our sort
Oh.
of better angels.
It's a language
and-
lesson.
And
Communication.
do you choose the same life knowing what it brings? I don't know. There's all these amazing layers. to
I
it.
love. That's the
Denny,
part I
nailed.
love.
I love
That's the
how
part I
they have
love.
this. She sits down with the daughter in one of the scenes and talks about why the parents split because I tried to tell him what was going to happen and he couldn't handle it.
That's the hardest part of the movie for me
like,
because that's the part where because Jeremy Reiner's character is infallible the entire time except for he's the one who leaves her, and it jades the picture of him, which is kind of beautiful because it's like people are still
Well,
people.
but
also, like-
she told him to. But you also know she told him whether or not he wanted to know, and obviously he
wanna
wasn't cool
know.
with
Yeah.
the information. Maybe she should have just kept that under wraps.
Or did she have a choice?
There's a lot
Did
outside
she
the
have
movie
a choice?
where you're like, how much does this ability infect her day-to-day life and their lives too?
Oh, I had
You
so
know,
many
because
questions about this. I was thinking,
in the
is
nature-
it all the time? Do you know like how the day's gonna go? Are you gonna still have that
Yeah.
fight?
Yeah. Why are you mad at me? Because next week
Yeah,
you forget to take the trash out.
Leave me
You're like,
alone. It hasn't
"Oh,
happened yet.
boy."
Maybe I won't
Yeah.
do it. Oh, and the
But
part
I
where
think
the
it's
daughter's
fine to just shove that out a little bit.
and when the daughter says he doesn't look at me the same, that's where I was like,
Oh,
it
brutal.
almost ruined the Jamie Reiner character. But and then at the end,
But to me, that's in a way where he's just got this probably deep sadness.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
He looks
He
at her
knows.
knowing she's gonna die.
Yeah.
And also, like, I think because they built him up as seemingly a really good guy.
yeah,
And this is like, I mean, talk about withholding important information. Like that was a big deal, and I could see how that could erode their relationship or whatever. So
yeah, for sure.
And they make sure
and like
to cover.
it wasn't
too,
like
the
he
part-
wasn't in the family. He's like,
Right.
no, you'll see him this weekend. And
right, and they make sure to bring up the part where he says, "Let's make a baby." Like it was his idea to have kids, or his first suggestion,
she
or
didn't go,
whatever.
"Wait a minute."
Yeah. Well,
That's
we
a-
can, but
speaking of changes from the book,
Yes.
which I think was wise
wise
for the movie
choice.
and some of these
I
choices.
agree.
In the book, apparently the daughter is older
Yep,
and dies in like a mountain climbing incident.
yep, rock climbing. Yep.
And so,
Oh.
and so in that version, she does have to go. It's meant to happen. I'm not going to try and intervene. It is true fate, kind of thing. Whereas when it's a
That's
incurable disease, you go.
the question
Why
is
can't
more like, do
other
we
than
repeat
having
this?
you or not
Yeah.
Yeah,
is like,
I like that. It's
you know, I
easier.
can't prevent it.
It's easier for the American public to palate, and
Yeah.
and it's for whatever reason. But then again,
Well, and the question's more like, do I tell you, or do you want this all to be a surprise to you?
I'm pretty sure this was a Star Trek episode.
Oh yeah.
Probably. Probably.
The
Oh yeah. So I guess Mariah,
go
I don't
for
know
it.
if I got to you on this. Like when the reveal happened, how did you did the movie turn? It's kind of a slow. I showed it to my family last year, I think, honestly, and watching the kids go, "Oh wait, what?"
Yeah,
and
that's fun.
slowly have it kind of make sense in their
That's
brain was
fun.
really fun to watch.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious how that came this time.
I don't know. I kind of felt, maybe just because I'd seen it before too, that the more that was revealed, I felt a little bit more, I don't know, it made me more comfortable or peaceful or something, knowing, like I just kept going, oh, yeah, okay. And and I have certainly watched it by myself because Eric sat down with me the first 5 minutes and was like, nope. This is too much. I said, well, the aliens are coming. Like,
Yeah.
hold on. It's not all this.
They're playing golf. I trust John Daly's in it. It's fine.
I should have said, yeah. But no, he bailed real fast. It's like, ooh, no, this is heavy. I got to go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I was
He's
on
not
my
wrong.
own.
He's not wrong.
Yeah.
Can we talk a little bit about another thing I think this movie like just killed was the world building.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like
Not even close. Yeah, but it's
when
Denis,
you-
baby. Denis always
I
builds great
know.
worlds.
But like when you get to the little army base outside the shell, it's like, yes, this is like a working. It's like you do this great. Oh my gosh, the when you pull up to Montana on the helicopter and the clouds are rolling over those hills
Yeah.
and the shell's there. First of all, you're like, oh my gosh, this is gorgeous, and you're like, should I go to Montana? Like
No, it's
that
cold.
looks like a cool place.
A lot of mosquitoes. No, it's not, no. Montana's nice. They got Yellowstone for a reason, for crying out
And
loud.
then we get this little circle around the base, and then there's all this like the doctor's just doing these basic like, hey, we're gonna knock you. All of that felt like, yes, that is probably what it would be. And I think Denis is really pretty meticulous about some of that stuff.
Oh, for
Yeah.
sure.
With advisors and things. So it's just like, yeah, that's probably what would have been built there. And it's
Yeah.
probably the processes that would have happened. And so you're immediately pulled into like, this is how any of this would go. It's so good.
I gotta give some more love for Denis because Eric Hesserer, I believe, the screenwriter.
Yeah, screenwriter. Mm-hmm.
So, first of all, everyone was stoked when Denis was interested. Like as soon as like he said he was interested, because he was already hot stuff at that point. Like everyone knew he's this talented, amazing director.
Yeah, Sicario gave him carte blanche. Kind of.
Oh,
do that.
everyone! And so when they found out, like, everyone like was like, "Don't screw this up, Eric." And so Denis would just take him out for like coffee, and they'd hang out for like 30
Hours.
minutes, and they ended up staying out for like 2 hours. He's like, "We should do this again," and they talk like about geopolitics and like
Yeah, that's
whatever
so
else.
funny.
And then they go out, and I think it happened like 4 or 5 times. Like they just
It was
hang
a
out all
long
the time.
courting
And he just
situation.
It was just
had this
slowly
super
but surely
fun,
trying to get him on the same
Exactly
wavelength.
right.
Like, this is what I want
And
you
so
to do.
finally, Eric's agent called. It's like, he's in. Whatever you did, it worked. And then they're like, don't screw this up. And then Denis calls up right away. We are now married.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right, Eric.
I thought
We're
that
now
was
married.
so good. And like, we're now married. And not only that, he would call him all the time about, hey, I'm changing this. Does this ruin it? Does this wreck
Yeah.
it? And I thought that's amazing because Eric's like, I've worked with a lot of directors and they just like, okay, this is the last time I'll see you. They never know how to pronounce my name. Next time I'll see you is at the award ceremony. That's going to be it. And so like it was just such a refreshing thing. Like when and the last story I'll give is Denis calls Eric. He's like, hey, I need that Mandarin line. He's like, what do you mean? He's like, the thing that she says to the general. Sorry, spoiler alert, guys. I need it now. He's like, what do you mean? He's like, I got the Mandarin translator here to teach Amy Adams how to say it. I need you to tell me now. He's like, yeah! And so it's just this great little thing. And then he's like, and then he doesn't even subtitle it. And then I came up with this whole line and he just has it in Chinese and he doesn't even subtitle it. I thought it was pretty good. So that was,
Yeah,
that was a fun
I
little
have-
thing.
Whatever she said, it was
Maybe-
good. Just
Maybe that leads us into fun facts.
Ooh,
because
fun
that's a
facts.
good
Let's
one.
do it. That's a great one.
So like you said, Seth, Eric said, I worked so hard in the dialogue in Mandarin for Denis, spent weeks crafting the lines, and
Yep.
finally approved.
Yep.
And then that scoundrel goes and doesn't use subtitles in the scene. So I guess there's something to be said about the nature of language, and I love Denis, but he's also a mischievous fox. But the line is amazing.
The line is amazing.
You guys know what the line
please
is?
read it. Please read it, Pat.
In war, there are no
sorry,
winners.
sorry. Could
only
you read it in Chinese? Read it in Chinese
widows.
first.
Mandarin.
No, I cannot.
Mandarin.
Okay, fine. Read it in English. Fine.
Yeah, in war, there are no winners, only widows.
So good.
In English, it's amazing with the alliteration. I don't know how it sounds in Mandarin, but like, what a great line.
the only fun fact that I had to bring was a Star Trek fact.
Ooh.
Yes, I think I know this one.
The Montana connection.
Yes.
Yes,
From-
first contact.
From the movie Star Trek First Contact.
First contact, baby.
They make it in the same place, Montana, with the aliens.
Yes,
So
Zephyr Cochrane meets
good.
Vulcans in Montana.
I
That's
thought, oh,
so
everyone's going to
good.
enjoy that.
Yeah. So then the other, we already talked about Johan Johansson not getting Oscar nomination, even though it was very
the score.
critically
Yeah.
acclaimed for the score.
Oh, so good.
It's a dope score because Max Richter's On the Nature of Daylight is the beginning and end, which you just listen to that song anytime you want to feel feelings, but well worth it. Another funny one was in different versions of the movie, depending on where it was. Like the aliens weren't named Abbott and Costello,
Oh, yeah. I like
and
that.
it wasn't Sheena Easton in terms of why they maybe landed in these spots. I think sometimes it was like Tom and Jerry,
Yeah,
or
Italy.
Pink Floyd.
Italy, it was Tom and Jerry because
so good.
nobody knew Abbott and Costello in Italy. The
fair.
names weren't famous enough.
I mean, that's interesting. Because still never made it to Italy. But we have Fellini. How about that? We have the bicycle thieves. Get out of here.
Yeah.
Hey.
And then the other one I actually saw pretty recently was when Louise has that kind of dream sequence where Jeremy Renner's character brings up the what's it called? The Sapir-Whorf hypothesis, which is the idea that when you learn a language, you think in that language.
Mm-hmm.
That was like an important ingredient in the movie, and they realized the scene where they were all actually discussing that didn't quite work, and so they edited around it, had the canary start singing, and when she turns,
It's the scene, the spider
it's
scene.
the alien, it's the heptapod, yeah. And that was a scene, I think, initially with Jeremy Renner and Forrest Whitaker and Amy Adams all just talking. And they're like, oh, shoot, like this doesn't
we gotta
quite work.
add the
What if we make it
That's so funny.
because they needed like a hard out, basically, but they
Dude.
really needed to introduce that concept.
That's
and so they're
funny.
like, dream sequence.
Oh,
Denise,
okay.
like,
And are you dreaming? Are
I
you
got
seeing
you,
the
bro.
symbols in your dreams yet?
I got
And-
you, bro. Check out this movie I did back in the day. Okay, we're gonna throw him in the corner. It's gonna be a little scary, but it's
Yeah.
gonna work. Trust me.
Also, what is the
There is,
bird doing there?
it's the canary,
Canary
in
in
the
the
coal
corn
mine.
mine. Yeah, classic. If it dies,
If the
anytime there's,
environmental conditions changed so much that the canary died, you got to get out of
gotta
there.
get out of there.
Oh.
Yeah. You didn't
Yeah.
watch.
You've
you
heard
watched
of the canary in the coal mine, yes?
Yeah.
Come on, you.
Sing
you
it,
That's why they
not-
sadly
But
why
I
they
was
brought them
thinking
down
in
there.
a different way. It's like
everybody's
I don't know.
working
they
on
think
the
we're nice if we
weekend.
have this bird with us. Or
Oh,
Nope, we like to kill innocent.
No,
bring a
that
little
is-
bit of bird with
yeah.
us.
Something's gonna die. Have it be the canary.
The bird.
first.
The bird is the translator.
just
I
have
don't
to-
know.
But
Outrun.
it is this kind of an unnerving just thing on its own. The fact that it kind of worked seemingly for you without it being obviously the canary in the
Yeah.
coal mine, I think
Yeah.
Well, and then
is
it
interesting
makes
'cause
sense,
it's-
too, that
it's
they
an
kept
upsetting
looking back at the
sound. They're
bird,
just
like
constantly
what's
hearing
going
it.
on with the bird.
Well, and we're always going, is something going to happen with the bird? So there's like a tension built in with it just it being there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
It's
then
really
there's
good.
part of me too also thought though, like, is the bird that important to the
No,
whole thing?
kind of, but no.
Yeah.
I mean, it was
and no.
it's like it's a symbol, but
yeah.
it's not. Pat, you didn't. Fun facts. Did
I
you
guess
talk
that's
about?
my only criticism.
Did you
The
talk
bird
about
didn't
the
have to be
whole
there.
score being a freaking palindrome?
Oh,
Like
well,
Hannah?
we do start and end on the nature of the daylight.
Oh
For sure.
my goodness! You can play it. You can flip the score back to front, and it still works in the movie. How insane is that? How
It's pretty
insane is
sweet.
that? Like that was so
Well-
cool to me.
And speaking of that stuff, the beginning and ending of Hannah's story at the beginning is sort of a palindrome too, where she's like, come back
First
to
thing,
me
come back
when
to
she's
me.
a baby, and then come back to me when she dies. Horrible.
Awful, but amazing.
And then like that's the other layer of this movie that I really like. Similar to rewatching any of the Cornetto trilogy, Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, or The World's End, you realize
So good.
Oh.
how much foreshadowing there is. And so like the first, when Jeremy Renner's reading her book, and it's, language is the foundation of civilization. It's the glue that holds the people together. It is the first weapon drawn in the conflict. And then the aliens, when they offer, their language, they say offer weapon.
Yeah.
And so there's just kind of this cool,
Louise has weapon.
Yeah.
yeah, it's just fun stuff.
Yeah.
I just like this movie so
Yeah.
freaking
I
much, you
love
guys.
it. I do like.
Yeah.
This isn't a sad one. This is. I'm just glad you like this one. This is one of those movies that I like that you like it because it's such a non-conventional sci-fi movie. In the fact that it doesn't use the normal tropes. It's sci-fi, but it goes against the sci-fi tropes. And that's what I think makes it beautiful. The pacing, I love. It's got a very snobby pacing. A very snobby, but not boring.
A snobby
Looking at you,
sounding director's
Scorsese.
name.
Not boring, Scorsese. Unlike Scorsese, it's not boring. It is just well timed. Scorsese's so boring recently. Sorry, but this movie's so good because I watched it when I was exhausted, and I stayed up without any problem, and I was stoked to like research about it. Right, like I wanted to. I went to bed, but I was so stoked to like jump into it because it was so good. So I love that's your favorite
Yeah.
movie.
Yeah, it was good.
Oh my gosh.
I think it's just it hits all these movie joy sensors in me in these different ways. And I think the one it lacks slightly is the comedy. But even then there's a little levity. There's a scene where the CIA guy is
Oh,
like,
yeah.
"Meh, meh, meh," and she's like, do I need to keep talking to
Yeah.
him or something?
I do. I
You're
like
like-
that too. Yeah, he's really
Yeah,
the
yeah,
worst
that's great.
villain of the whole movie.
He is funny, yeah. Except for the guys who actually like, the bombs.
But
Yeah.
the
Well, and
chattiest villain.
The chattiest villain. The most
Yes,
developed
to your point.
villain.
Yeah. I think they did do a good job sort of showing the radicalization of just some of the guys, by having like the wife freaking out on the phone.
It felt
and,
way too
the whatever Alex Jonesian podcast.
that felt way too now. I did not like that.
Well, and
It
all
felt
of the-
way too now.
Also, just showing the panic, like worldwide panic, just in the screens, saying these guys disconnected, they disconnected. They're waiting to see if these guys are going to do anything. Like these three countries are following each other's lead, and that is frustrating. And yeah,
Big domino.
So good.
But yeah, to your point, Seth, like even with like the violence that happens is mostly off screen. Like you hear the gunfight below and you get a little bit of the explosion, but even not much of it. It's like the movie's not about that.
no,
It could be.
Also, you
And it
never
is
see
not.
the faces of the college students Like they're so good about keeping the focus where it needs to be. It's so.
You do see
very
them,
good.
but they're at a distance.
No, they're fuzzy. I watched the whole time. You cannot make out any of their faces the entire scene. It's crazy. Go back and watch it. It's nuts. I was like,
yes,
yeah.
they're in the background, but technically their faces are facing the camera.
They have
it's crazy
faces.
though.
nuts.
It's so like because it focused on the back of her head, and they weren't in focus, and like really out of focus. Like they used a shot like a wide open like pretty. I was just thinking, I'm like, I get it. They're really trying to get us to disconnect her from everybody else. Like I get it. They're doing it, and they're doing it like
Sold. We're in.
Sold. We're in. I'm like, because it was like she was not connected with the college world, even though she was teaching there. She was never. You never felt like she was connected to that world. It was very.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
The other thing, I think the last thing I want to mention, because it's just interesting, is that Denis used what's his name? A different cinematographer for this one. So Sicario was with our favorite
Bradford Young.
Well, Bradford Young was a rival, but Sicario, so the last movie he did was with the legendary.
Yes. That's
Why can't I
so
remember his name?
funny. Yes. Hold on, I'll get there. We're on that. But yes, go ahead. So why did he switch?
Roger Deakins. Roger Deakins.
Yeah, the man, Roger Deakins, who's done everything. 1912. He's the one who's like always on the cutting edge of new technology. Like everything. As a wedding videographer, just a videographer in general, every 2 or 3 weeks, YouTube kicks up a Roger Deakins video. Like there's always some new Roger Deakins.
Because he's so good.
Because he's so good. And he's like, I'll try new things even though I'm 100 years old. I don't care. He'll still do it. Now, Roger Deakins is the freaking man. But yeah, but this one,
then
yes.
He went with Bradford Young.
Yep.
Which, and I the movie's gorgeous. And I think he'd come off of Selma.
Yes.
And A Most Violent
Yes.
Year.
Yes.
And apparently Denis was like, he wanted it to be dirty sci-fi. And I think,
which is
and I
funny
wonder if he
because
just
it's
felt
so
like Roger
smooth.
Deakins was.
It's so
I know, a lot of
smooth.
it is.
That's what
But there is a lot of
it.
like with the more intimate scenes. It is more handheld.
Oh, for sure.
A lot of the
For
reveal
sure.
scenes. It's another thing I just like. Just the visuals. There's always this kind of looking through a window.
Yeah.
Or the screen vibe. Like when you first come into her house, you sort of panning down from this scene, and
Yes,
then when
sir.
you come into the alien ship, it's more
Yep.
floor to
Love it.
to
Oh,
up.
yeah, but they keep grounding
but
it by
always
showing
revealing-
where their feet are going up the thing, like
Look
the
at you
tread of the metal.
cinematographers. You guys are so good. I'm
There's
so
the
impressed with you guys
dirty
right
sci-fi
now.
for you.
I'm so impressed with this observation right now.
I did notice like this. Her looking down at her feet when that thing's going
This
up
is
is
so
like the
good.
first, like it's.
You guys are coming
It's
out
the
second
one, like,
shooting with
thing
me
that
my
hangs
next
out.
wedding.
It's very
You
different.
guys are all coming to be my second shooters next time. This is great stuff.
Yeah, I'd shoot. But yeah. Anyway, this movie, in summary, for Pat's favorite movie of all time, the acting's great, the direction and cinematography are great, the writing's great. The score is fantastic.
I got one
It's
question
so
for you. One question
good.
for you.
Okay.
How do you
allow
feel
it.
about the male protagonist and the actor that was chosen for that part?
Jeremy Renner being
How do you feel
a
about Jeremy being it?
scientist?
Just being the guy.
Why?
Fine. Good.
Just wondering.
So it's a trick question.
I was a little distracted by Jeremy.
Oh, because he was Hawkeye?
And he was
Or because
just
he was in a horrible accident?
because he was just so Jeremy Renner. It felt like you know what I
yeah.
mean? Like that was my only thing. Amy Adams, I thought killed it. Jeremy Renner was Jeremy Renner,
She didn't get nominated.
And it's
for an Oscar.
Renner.
which is a shame because I was
It's
looking at the
Renner,
list.
everyone.
Renner, sorry, Jeremy Hawkeye.
Rob Reiner's grandson,
Rob Reiner.
Jeremy.
That would be amazing. He would look so good. How come he looks so good?
You don't look like a Reiner.
You look like the mailman.
I mean, I think up to that point, he'd been like, Bourne spinoff and Hawkeye a couple times, but like
He'd just done
He's
the
still-
first.
Did you do Hurt Locker
Hurt
at that point?
Hurt Locker had
Yeah.
come out, yeah.
But he'd
'Cause
just done the
he
first
got cast
Avenger.
in Avengers because
Yeah.
of Hurt Locker, I think.
Yeah.
So like, I mean, I'm a Renner fan, and the guy's gonna crush himself with a snowplow and come back.
Yeah, I
Good
know.
for him.
Good for him, man. I love Jeremy Renner in a lot of movies, but he was the comic. He was the comic relief in this movie. He 100% was.
It was maybe a smidge
Yeah.
hard to go, oh, he's a theoretical physicist or whatever he was. You're like, really? Because he doesn't seem to have a lot of knowledge.
Well,
He puts
'cause you want him to be
glasses
more
on. He does
nerdy,
put
you know?
glasses on at one point, and
theoretical
that might
physicists
make
can't
you...
be cool superhero guys.
He's a little too
Maybe.
cute, and he knows he's cute.
Maybe.
Yeah, that's my only issue. Sometimes, like, he took me out of the scene.
I still suspended the disbelief to go
Yeah,
for it.
that was my only time.
Fair.
Like a couple times, I'm like, and because even that last scene where he says these gorgeous things, he's like, I thought I'd be so amazed to see them, but really meeting you is like, I felt like a more subtle
better.
actor could have been better, and so that was my only beef with it. That was my hair's gonna hate comment, because I was like, I think Jeremy Renner could have been recast. That'd been my only thing, and he was still. He doesn't distract from Amy Adams, because I think Amy Adams plays the subtleness
They have good chemistry.
so well. Yeah, and they did have good chemistry, and he does good chemistry with people, but it's not a rom-com.
No.
Yeah. No, but you also
That was
need
my only
like the
hate.
movie
Yeah.
is Amy Adams. So, and she's phenomenal. But like
Yeah, she is.
they had to work as a pair and feel like they liked each other, and I thought that worked.
Yeah,
And yeah,
for sure.
I don't know who I would recast. I don't know if we're doing a recast.
Oh,
But,
yeah.
I think
It's hard when it's a current
it
recast.
all
I know it's
it all works.
2016.
And I'm not gonna
Can we
say
go back?
I'm not gonna sit here and say this is a perfect movie, because it's not. But I love it. I freaking love this movie.
It's a
And,
great movie,
If you for some reason listen to this and you haven't watched it,
Watch
please
this
go watch the
freaking
movie.
Jeez.
Would you kiss it on the mouth, Pat? Do you love
In
it?
public?
I might.
in public?
Weirdly, I have 2 copies of the movie over there for some reason.
In case something
got 2
happens
pairs,
to the
but
other one.
But also it was like, yeah, I should have 2 copies.
Yeah, there we go. That's perfect.
You shouldn't have them together. You should have one in a lockbox or
Well,
something.
yeah, exactly. Never in the same room.
No, never in the same room.
No. You know what would be fun to do with modern movies? Recast it in the 50s. That'd be one for some
yeah.
time. If you could
Cary
recast.
Grant
could
is a
Cary
theoretical
Grant be a theorist?
physicist.
Honestly, it's the same thing. He's Jeremy Renner for crying out loud. Is Audrey?
Would he also be
Is
Hawkeye?
Katharine Hepburn? Darling.
I think Doris Day
Doris
should be
Day.
Louis.
Oh my gosh.
She's such a good communicator.
Such a good. but Mary Poppins.
Rock, yeah, it could be a Doris Day Rock Hudson movie.
Oh, that'd be so funny. That would be hilarious. That would.
No,
Okay,
that's silly.
someone in the comments with AI can make that a thing. I've seen those
Yeah.
things; those are amazing. This is a tough one, guys. Pat, what beer would you make this? Bodhisattva, I assume. So this is your favorite beer, I
Yeah.
assume.
This is just a nice.
I mean, it's
comfortable
definitely an
day for
IPA. It's definitely an IPA. Is it Bodhisattva? That I don't even. It's harder. Crazily, it's harder to pick a favorite beer, because beers are like, it just depends on the day.
They're like
I can watch
ex-girlfriends.
this movie. I can watch this movie any day, anytime, and be delighted with it. It really is a for all seasons kind of movie for me. But it's an IPA.
All-day IPA.
It's
or,
probably
Everyman's IPA.
Always.
Yeah.
What's your favorite IPA, Pat?
I probably drank the most Trickster.
Oh, I don't even know what that is. I gotta look it up.
It's
Nice.
Black Raven is a local brewery. and a lot of the local establishments carry it on tap. So,
Nice.
oh yeah, I'll give it a Black Raven Trickster.
Okay.
High alcohol content,
There you go.
and it's good.
Oh, not bad. 6.9. Okay, so it's still like it's right around Dead Guys. That makes sense. Okay, nice. So Trickster IPA from Pat. Wow, there we go. That's a good one. Mariah, you got beer for this one?
I'm actually going to go with the one I'm drinking.
Wow.
It's a Breakside Rainbows and Unicorns IPA. It's a lower alcohol content IPA, I believe.
I just watched Fall Guy, and the whole part where he's like, "Hi," he's like, "When is this over?" When you stop seeing unicorns. That was like the best part of that movie.
This unicorn's great. This is a smooth. This is why I'm picking it. This is just
nice.
an easy.
So smooth.
So easy.
Nice.
There's not a ton of hops in it, so it's not my favorite because I do like them hoppier.
You
but
do like him, hobby.
this is a good, solid,
But it's easy.
easy,
Yeah.
comfortable
For sure.
IPA.
Mine, of course,
Nice.
is Elysian Space Dust.
It's pretty good.
That's
That's
pretty
pretty good.
It's a great one.
Solid.
It's a solid IPA. One of my top 5 IPAs of all
It's
time.
pretty
folks.
hoppy.
It's hoppy enough, but not bad hoppy. I'm looking at you,
Yeah.
Pyramid. Pyramid, you suck.
They just go too far, you know.
They just do. They just don't get it. Like, just enjoy it and do do it right. So this is Space Dust IPA. It's delicious.
We
It's
just lost a sponsor.
got a little bite. Dang it. Just kidding, Pyramid. I'll drink your crappy IPAs if you sponsor us. But it's still great, and it's not for everyone because it's well. I think this movie might be for everyone.
It's for most. At
This
least.
movie's for most.
It's probably too slow for some, but I think it is. It's easy. If you don't like sci-fi, it's not that sci-fi.
Yeah.
If you do like sci-fi, it kind of gets you into like, oh, this is a little more cerebral sci-fi.
You know what?
There's good-looking people on screen.
I'd kind of compare it to like
It's just
Signs
good.
in the whole. It's got other things.
Only
there's
it's good.
feelings. There's another journey happening.
Except it's good.
I did hear,
There's
or I
some
read
aliens.
one of the critical reviews was like, it's Signs without like the excitement or something. And I thought that was hilarious.
That's so good. Signs without the excitement. That is pretty funny.
I should have
Hey,
Finn
Pat.
watch it. He really likes Signs.
Apparently,
Probably
Space
like-
Dust has like almost a full percent ABV over the beer you took.
Yeah, it's a spicier
It's a spicy one. Woo!
It's not as smooth.
I mean, I do like Space Dust.
I mean, it gets me emotional.
It's not on
It
tap
gets
as
me-
many places for me.
It gets me emotional like this movie did. Let's just put it that way.
Seth's right back in past lives.
Oh, that movie's so good. Oh, great movie, Pat.
Good choice.
Pat, thanks for bringing this to the table, taking us all the way back to 2016 when life was a simpler time.
Good year. Go Cubs.
Mostly a good year.
Go
Mostly
Cubs.
a good year.
This also
There was some
in
rant.
theory
Remember
says
that one year
human.
we had?
Oh my
shirt says
gosh.
human.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Pat. I
Is
You're
that
wondering.
what? Is that what they told you? It said.
I applaud. Yeah.
That's what they told you.
Was that? Did they tell you now, or are they going to tell you later? I applaud the physical media that you brought, so I appreciate that, guys. This has been another episode of How to Be a Movie Snob. My name's Seth. I'm here with
Mariah.
and the human himself.
Pat.
That's right, and we are
Mr.
exploring
Patrick.
our top 10 list, and we're introducing movies that maybe the others haven't seen that much, and just kind of giving our takes. So join us next week as are we on your movie or my movie next week?
I thought it was you.
Oh, it's me next week as we introduce my movie. Get careful, folks. We're coming
Have to
straight
chip 'em.
over the big Pacific Ocean to this movie.
We're on a different.
I forgot for a sec what it was,
people.
and I remember.
You remember now. All right, guys. Until next week. Take care. Keep watching movies. Like, subscribe, and see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Goodbye.